Here I am today with Tom Monto, co-owner with his wife of Alhambra Books, and avid historian, local historian, and PR, all things proportional representation. What got you interested in proportional representation? Why? How did you come to take this torch up? What was the spark for you?
Well, I've always been interested in fairness, I guess, politically. And then I was during COVID, I was sitting down to do like a book about like 150 years of Alberta history. And then I kind of was picking different things and for different years. And I came to 1921 or 1924, 1926. And that's when Alberta brought in proportional representation. And most people don't know about that. And I had written about it in probably every book I wrote about Alberta history, pamphlets and things. But I never knew much about it. So then I got into it and I found out there was a whole world of electoral reform and PR and discussion about it and different models and different uses in the past, both in North America and internationally. And then it just kind of been fascinating. I've been fascinated by it. Yeah,
that's very interesting to me because I thought you had probably been on this subject for the last 57 odd years.
No. It's a very recent thing. I've heard about it. I know it's been interested in fairness, like I say, but so there's people like in Fairville, Canada, that I'm involved with who have been fighting for it for like 15 years or even longer.
Right, eh?
But so I'm a recent comer to it.
Where do you see us making progress?
Well, the House of Commons has votes about every couple of years. So they've been voted down, but like the NDP and the Greens, and I think even Bloc Québécois voted solidly in favor of it.
Even the Bloc voted in favor of it?
I believe so.
Huh.
I believe so.
Okay, let's fact check that afterwards, but
yeah,
I'm
sure.
shocked.
And then part of the Liberals, and even, I think, some Conservatives.
There's cross-party support. Yeah,
right, okay. But really all the government needs to do to bring in a new electoral system is just pass it by law. And they can pass laws in the legislature just with a majority of the seats. And so when we have had different electoral systems in Canadian history, I have a little graphic here of, as you see on the left is the different provinces, and the different colors show the different voting systems that have been used. Should I make it more vertical? Yeah. And so it's kind of detailed, and maybe the camera won't pick it up anyway, but like the yellow is a mixture of first past the post and block voting. And then you have like the nice purple here of Manitoba and Alberta. And that's STV, a PR system that was used to elect some of the seats from the 20s to the 50s in those two provinces. And that's actually the deepest use of PR in US and Canada. Illinois used a cumulative voting system, which is semi-proportional, for like 110 years. From like 1870 to 1980 or something like that. So that was for all their members elected in multiple member districts, but it was only semi-proportional. So, but STV is quite proportional and also has the advantage that it allows the voters to vote directly for the candidate instead of a political party that would then be just a party list, where the party brass choose who will take the seats, fill the party seats. So it's one of the few times in Alberta history that we've changed the government.
Okay, so the UFA comes in, they were doing some hard work before, they realized that this voting system is not working for them, but they run candidates in 1921, they get in, and then in the next election in 1926, that's when we see a different voting system, but not across the province. But in Edmonton and Calgary, they did it.
Yeah, Medicine Hat too had just a 2-seat district.
2-seat district. Okay.
So, but why they did that is they really just carried on the same districts that had been used under block voting.
Okay.
But merely said from now on, each voter will just have one vote, and that vote will be transferable if necessary.
Okay.
And there's a big difference in the proportion of effective votes actually used to elect people, and also in the proportionality of the result. That if you look at just the city, which is where the PR was used, Labour, say, took a third of the seats, and the Liberals took a third, and the Conservatives and say Independents took the other third, roughly, each district. And that was much fairer before, where the Liberals had taken all the seats.
Right. I guess we have the year before Labour takes all of this, or Liberals take all the seats in Edmonton.
Right.
And then it's instituted now in Edmonton. You have one UFA
Right.
MLA, 2 Conservative MLAs, 1 Liberal MLA, and 1 Labour MLA.
Right. Which
So
is
now
very,
you have 4 different strains represented in Edmonton, whereas the previous election you just had Liberals all the way through.
right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And that just shows how. it
So
works.
that's what I've been saying, Tom. You're going to have all this diversity of view. Can you really actually pass anything and get on with governing? And I put it to him. I said, well, it's kind of like if Tom and I and our pal Shelley go on a road trip, or Brendan, let's say Brendan, and we all go on a road trip, and you want to go to Grand Prairie and I want to go to Lethbridge and he wants to go to Lloydminster. Well, probably before we get in the car, we should sit down and, hash it out, and maybe we compromise on Nordegg. But I don't think the situation is improved if we give Tom all the power and Tom just says,
Right,
too
that's
bad,
right.
fellas, we're going to Grand Prairie.
Sure.
That's
right.
That's a lot of hours in the car of me grumbling and backbiting.
Well,
and
that's right, yeah,
and trying
sure.
to sabotage. I'll probably
Yeah.
let that air out of your tires or something like that.
Yeah, authoritarianism or something is more efficient, but it's not democratic, and most people aren't satisfied by the result. It may be more work for the election official, or at least if you use transferable voting, there's more work for the election official, but there's hardly any more work for the voter.
The funny thing is that, somebody said, well, it's more work for the election officials. Since when did people care about more work for bean counters? Like, nobody said, well, the accountants are really overworked. Nobody says that.
No,
they
that's
say,
right, sure.
make sure you give me my paycheck on time and the right amount,
and the right
or
amount.
make sure
That's
you
right,
give me my
sure.
government refund. They don't say, well, you don't actually, if it's a lot of work, don't bother. Or if you're a bit overtaxed and it's complicated, just keep the money. Like, nobody says that.
No, that's right, sure.
No, we just
sure.
say that when we're heel dragging and we don't want to change.
That's right.
Just doing multi-member ridings, that's a great first easy step.
Right,
Okay.
sure. Mm-hmm.
But I've been talking to people and I've been saying, well, here's how single transferable vote one thing works is that on the ballot they'll have each party listed, and under each party they'll have 5 different candidates. And so when you go to vote, instead of just only having, if you're a NDP supporter or a Liberal supporter, you don't have a choice of the candidate.
That's right.
But on that ballot, you get to pick which one you like. So if the incumbent has been doing a sloppy job, you don't have to vote for that person. Or if they parachuted in some golden child candidate, you don't have to vote for them. If you know somebody that you think would do great, you can put your vote to that particular candidate.
So-
and people say, really? That sounds nice.
Right, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
You got the choice. You got a choice even within a party slate. So really what we have now is really a one-name list system.